Okay, so any triangle with all acute angles is an acute triangle. A triangle with a right angle is going to be called a right triangle. And then a triangle with one obtuse angle is going to be called an obtuse triangle. Okay? So then what about this second triangle, or the second row of triangles? The first one, I don't have any sides that are the same length. So this side length is one length. This one is a second length. And then this one is the third length. So none of those sides are equal. So when you have a triangle that has all three different measured sides, it's called a scalene triangle. Okay. So none of the sides are equal. It's called a scalene triangle. Remember, congruent means equal. So no congruent sides, scalene. Okay. The second one, those tick marks are the same. So that tells me that this leg is equal to this leg. But this one down here is a different measure. Okay? So in this case, I have two sides that are the same measure. So that's called an isosceles triangle. Okay? They're what? Yes. Okay. And then this third triangle, I have two tick marks on every single side. So that tells me that every single side is exactly the same length. So if this is 3, then this one's 3, this one's 3. Okay? So if they are all equal, it's called an equilateral triangle. Okay? Questions on those 6 types of triangles? Okay. So down here it says it has a definition of a triangle, which I think we all know. The figure with 3 sides and 3 angles. And then, of course, this is our symbol for triangle. It also goes on to tell me that every triangle has at least 2 acute angles. One way that you can classify a triangle is by using the third angle. So up here where I had a right triangle and an obtuse angle, I had one right angle. So what does it mean that, what type of angles are these 2 other ones? Are they 90 degrees? Are these 2 angles right here? Are they acute, right, straight, or obtuse? If they are right, they would have a square right here. They're acute. Those are smaller than 90 degrees. So I have 2 acute angles, 1 right angle. Over here, I've got 1 obtuse, and then we already said that these angles were acute, right? So it just told me that at least 2 of those angles have to be acute in a triangle. So one way to classify is by using that third angle. Another way is to classify is by using their sides. So sides with the same length are congruent segments. Remember, congruent means same. Okay. Alright, so let's look at an example. They want us to draw a triangle with 1 obtuse angle and no congruent sides. So all of my sides are going to be different lengths, and then only 1 angle is going to be obtuse. So my first step was to draw an obtuse angle, which is what we did right here. That clearly is larger than 90 degrees. Okay. And then the second step, all you have to do is draw that line to connect your ends. And then now you have an obtuse. Why is it scalene?
Because it doesn't have any other angles.
Not quite. Sierra. Because it has no congruent sides, which they told me that. So it's an obtuse scalene triangle because one of the angles was obtuse and then none of the sides were the same, so it's scalene. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so example A, they want us to draw a triangle that satisfies the set of conditions below and then classify. A triangle with 1 right angle and 2 congruent sides. Okay, so if I know it has a right angle, it has to form an L, right? So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and draw that L. And I'm going to put that square right there to indicate that it is 90 degrees. Okay. So So then now I need to connect my side, my two endpoints. It told me to draw a right angle with two congruent sides. So which sides here would be congruent? The part that makes my L, right? So that means I need to put a tick mark on them. Because remember, that tick mark tells me that those two sides are the same measure. So there's a triangle with one right angle and two congruent sides. So if I need to classify that, how would I classify it? Sierra. Just try it. Isosceles. Okay, it's an isosceles, but what type of isosceles is it? Remember, we classify by its angle and by its sides. A right isosceles triangle. Okay, so this is a right isosceles triangle. Remember, it's isosceles because isosceles triangles have two congruent sides, which is what we have right here. And then we can say that it's a right triangle because it has one right angle. Okay. Questions about that example? Okay, go ahead and flip over. All right, example number 2 says to classify the triangle on the house by its angle and by its sides. So I know it's a little hard to see on your picture because it's kind of dark, but it's talking about the roof, okay? And then if you can see, I don't know if y'all can see when I zoom this up. So here's my outline of the roof. And then it has these two marks right here. So it's telling me that these two sides are what? Congruent. Okay. Yes.
It's obtuse.
Okay, it's obtuse what? An obtuse isosceles. Good, Alexander. It's obtuse because this angle right here is larger than 90. And then the two congruent sides tells me that it's isosceles. So we have an obtuse isosceles triangle, which they told us right there. Okay. Alright, so example B says to classify the triangle by its angle and by its sides. So we are looking at this ramp right here. What do you see in the corner right there? A square. So what is it? I heard somebody say it. That means it's a right angle. Okay. So do I have any tick marks on any of my sides? No. So what type of triangle is it by classifying its sides? Scaling, because scaling has no congruent sides. And then I already said that I had a right angle. So what type of angle triangle is this? A right scaling triangle. It's not too bad, is it? Pretty easy. You just got to memorize those, what makes it scaling, isosceles, or right. Okay. Okay, so just like previous from learning complementary and supplementary and different types of angles, we were able to find missing angles, right? So we're going to be able to find missing angles here in a triangle as well. So if they give me two sides, I should be able to find that, or two angles, I should be able to find that third angle. Yes. Never mind. Okay.
Wait, we're just finding the third angle, or what?
Yeah. We're about to see. Just wait. So, right here, it says that the sum of the measures of the angles of the triangle is 180. This is very important, okay? Put a star by it. The sum of the angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So that means that all three angles add up to give you 180. So if I'm looking at the picture of the triangle that they gave me right here, that means that x plus y plus z all equals 180. Okay? So by that I can use the information that they give me to write an equation and then solve for that missing angle. So let's look at number 3, example number 3. And let's see if we can solve. So I'm given this triangle. Angle y is 119 degrees. And then angle x right here is 43 degrees. They want me to find the measure of angle z. Okay. So I automatically know that all three of those angles have to add up to give me 180 degrees. So I can say that the measure of angle z plus 43 degrees plus 119 degrees equals 180 degrees. Sierra? That's exactly what we're doing right here. Yeah, it's just in equation form. If it tells you to write an equation, then I definitely want to see your equation. Okay. So then, of course, I'm adding first. So measure of angle z plus 162 equals 180. And then to get your measure of angle z, you subtract 162 from both sides. So the measure of angle z is 18 degrees. Okay. Any questions on that? We good? All right. C down here, it's kind of hard to read. It was printed kind of funky. It says in triangle ABC, if measure of angle A is 25 degrees, measure of angle B is 108 degrees, what is the measure of angle C? So if you need to, you can draw a picture, but you don't have to, okay? But if you want to, we could go ahead and draw our triangle. Doesn't really matter what it looks like because they didn't tell us about sides. But if I have measure of angle A, they said that's 25 degrees. Measure of angle B was 108 degrees. And then measure of angle C was what we were trying to find. Can y'all see that? So what kind of equation can I write in order to find the measure of angle C? Somebody tell me. Jack.
108 plus 25, and then that equals like...
Tell me the actual equation before solving anything. Just tell me the equation. Caleb.
Measure angle C plus 108 plus 25.
Good. Measure of angle C plus 108 degrees plus 25 degrees. What is that supposed to equal? 180. Remember that the sum of all three measures has to equal 180 degrees. So now I have an equation. So I can solve for my variable. So what is 108 plus 25?
133.
133. So now I have measure of angle C plus 133 degrees equals 180. How can I solve for the measure of angle C? Subtract what? Good. Subtract 133 from both sides. So then that gives me the measure of angle C equals what? 47 degrees. Good. And that's our answer. That's what they wanted us to find. Yes. Why?
Because like, you could just add up 25 and 108 and 133.
That's exactly what we're doing. You're just writing out your steps. See? We're adding those at 108 and 25 and then subtracting that from 180. You're just writing it in an equation. Does that make sense? Any questions? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the easiest, how easy is it? Okay. So once we practice some homework problems, we should be pretty good? Okay. Your homework is in your book today. So you've got page, I can't see with the lights off. What does it say over there? 684, number 6 through 21. Hit them. Thank you. The homework is page 684, number 6 through 21.